Hello, boys and girls. It's a favorite podcast. At least it's our favorite podcast, Aaron. It's time
Yep.
for Standing in the Gaps. And we're looking forward to a spicy conversation on what's new for 2025. We're only, depends upon what day this comes out, but we're recording it on January 9th, only 9 days into the year. Man, it's
No, the
shit.
14th. Sorry. Sorry. It
What's
comes
up,
out on
man?
the 14th, everybody.
All right. So I can imagine there'll even be more stuff out by then. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting under 2 weeks of the new year so far. Huh, Aaron?
Yeah. There's been a whole lot of stuff in the US news and the world news together, which we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the new changes that we implemented. We talked about our last, live recording, and we're going to go through all that today.
Fun. Till your daddy takes your T-bird away. I'm dating myself.
Nice.
I think Trump has everybody thinking he's going to be an authoritarian president by talking about buying these islands and Panama. What's your take on that? Is it
I know. On the 9th, we just released, which is the day that we're recording this, just released a deep dive on that. And it is really, really crazy. Like, I think that they're gonna think that he's going to just buy everything. It's pretty much what he wants to do is take the continent of North America and just make it America. That's what it looks like. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people are going to think that he's trying to rule the world. But the thing is we had in the past times that America has annexed areas. We annexed Guam. Um, we, kind of annexed Puerto Rico. We kind of brought them into the fold. And so I think that Iceland would be very smart to keep out of Chinese hands.
Iceland or Greenland?
I always get that mixed up because I guess I have a little bit of Viking in me or something that's confused. When that area was first inhabited, they wanted to keep it out of the Vikings' hands, keep Iceland out of the Vikings' hands. So they called it Iceland, and then they called the frozen part Greenland, so that the Vikings would be like, "Let's go to Greenland," and then be stuck there. And so
Interesting.
I guess there's a little bit of Viking in me or something.
Yeah. Both countries are gorgeous. I know Iceland is, it's definitely one of the places I'd like to visit on my
Mhm.
bucket list. Yeah, I don't know where he's coming from. Usually I can tell. I don't. I just don't. I I can't say. Can you?
Well, it's really important that we get that away from China, to get Greenland away from China. China right now has a monopoly on rare earth elements.
Okay.
Um, and Iceland is filled with them. So either uh we need in the US need to annex
Cracking
Greenland.
me up. It's-
Did they say Iceland again?
Yeah, you're cracking me up, dude. You really need to visit. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
Iceland. It's funny because my sister-in-law has traveled the world, and she said it's her favorite country. Iceland.
Actually, there's a flight that has a 20-hour layover there from Cluj.
Oh,
So maybe I might have to do that next time I go to the US, is do a quick little layover, get out there for 10 hours and then come back. But anyways, it's very important that we keep Greenland away from China. That way we can get some of those rare earth elements. China gets those, then they can negotiate, they can raise the prices up and we would have to pay it. Um, I think if they're going to have to lower their prices down to compete better for the world economy, because I really do foresee the next 4, 8, 10 years being extremely tech focused. And so there's going to be a lot of computers that are needed to run these artificial intelligence that's going on right now. But another thing is shipping lanes. He wants a little bit of control on the shipping lanes. And right now we have a radar station in Greenland up in the north that monitors for any ballistic missiles flying. But I know part of his idea is to get a Iron Dome system in Greenland. And so any ballistic missiles that are coming over the Arctic to get to us will be intercepted by the Iron Dome system. And I think that that is important, as it seems like every week we're getting closer to that red button.
That's true. When you said China, it immediately made me think of the fact that what I've learned recently is China is responsible for those drones that were coming before the new year. It seems to be a
Yeah.
little bit of power struggle between China and us right now, you know? Yeah, it's just very interesting. I think no one knows really how it's going to shake out. I think a lot of people are just moving the chess pieces as best they can. And Trump is, Trump's, knows how to use the media to his benefit.
Mhm.
So what he's talking about is a preemptive strike against China. Say, you know, don't even think of grabbing Greenland. And I think Panama, the shipping, the whole, I think he knows that they're looking to disrupt the distribution channel in America. And he's saying, no way, we're not going to allow it. That's what I think.
Well, I think that there's like, obviously China has troops. They have one of the biggest populations, and so they can bring the troops. But what I think they're doing is a multiple prong attack. So right now they're attacking with economy. And if they can snatch up resources, if they can like get shipping lanes and get money, then that fuels the war machine. And that's where we're at, is if they can get their economy bigger than our economy, and their output of that economy is war, then that means they can hire and purchase more tanks, more aircraft, more drones, more tech, and we are vastly behind. People think America is this big old superpower. Yes, yes, we are, but in the things that really matter now, like drone research, we are vastly behind, and we are vastly behind in defense. Right now, under Joe Biden, we weren't doing anything for defense. And so Trump has a lot to do. And that's why I'm kind of worried about this Greenland and Panama thing. Because if he's so focused on so many things, you can start so many projects and end up finishing none. So I think stuff like Greenland are a distraction that the American people can't afford. I think the important topics are the border protection. It's very important that we get the illegals out and start to have a stable system of bringing legal immigrants in. We need to get those Chinese that cross the border in Mexico. We need to get them out. That is very, very important because any attack on the outside would prompt an attack on the inside through these people. And oh, go ahead.
From my perspective, like if I was in America right now, because we're both American, we're not stationed there right now, but if I was in America, what would be most important in my mind is protecting the homeland. Okay. So we've got, and I know this is, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Aaron, but this is really very important. So I'm going to say it. We have camps. Let's throw all these MFers in camps right now. And day one, just get them into those camps. It's unfortunate that we still have people deny it, but we have them. Because you hit on something. Like, how can you focus on? We've got all these things going on. I don't want my daughters raped. Okay, so you've got those idiots, those criminals. I don't want Iranian missiles launched. So you've got them, and I don't want Chinese blowing us away. So you've got three groups of terror. They're all terrorists in my opinion. It's okay. Even even though they're but if a pedophile is sitting there in our country legally through Biden's administration and they were thrown out of Venezuelan jail or wait, these where do you say let me ask you, Aaron, I named you three subsets right now. What are the most important? Who do you go after first?
Well, I think it would be easier to go after the border
I didn't say about
because
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
uh but you said borders, you said the immigrants, you said
What
rockets.
I talked about, yeah, I did jump around a little, but well, before we secure our border, if we could do it both at the same time, great. But before we secure our border necessarily, we need to, whoever's crossed in already, we need to get them arrested immediately, put into camps immediately. So that internal threat is removed. That's basically what I'm saying. And then tighten up our borders and do all that. But right now, we've got the infestation in our country. They're there. So how quickly we can get them out, it's going to take a while to get to reverse what Joe Biden's done. So in the interim, get them locked away. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it's going to take that long to reverse what he's done because the thing is on day 1 there's going to be a stack of presidential orders. Okay? Now, for the listeners that don't quite understand this, I'm not saying that I'm an expert on it, but as far as I understand, if there is already a law in place that those fit, then the president can decree an order to bring it back to that law without the House or Congress or anybody's approval. Okay, so right off the bat, that's what's going to happen because the U.S. is being invaded, and there's a law in place. I forgot what year is, probably in the 70s or something like that, where if there is a invasion, then a mass deportation is allowed. Okay, so all Trump has to say is that it is an invasion and we need to do this. Boom, that's reversed now. Now it's just a matter of the logistics of getting the people out.
That's my point.
The airplanes or buses or trains or whatever to get them to the border. The problem is when we allowed these people to come in, we flew them to like New York or Chicago or these places that are so far away from the border that it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare to get them back. Um but the thing is I think it's going to happen very quick. I think there's going to be on day 1 there's going to be arrests. I believe that right now the ICE is getting ready to mobilize as soon as that presidential order is signed, start rounding up, um, which is going to be good for the protection of American citizens. Because right now, they're getting raped, they're getting murdered, they have whole apartment complexes getting annexed. And I'm using these military words for a reason, so it sounds like an invasion. They're literally apartment complex are being annexed for these gangs. I couldn't imagine being an elderly person or a disabled person inside one of these buildings. Like, now you have to pay protection money to the gang. Some, the economy is shot and inflation is high. And I couldn't imagine being on welfare and then now having to pay for protection from these gangs.
So there's a country that had a city that the city was, you know, crime rate. It was just, you know, horrible crime rate. Probably one of the worst in the world. But definitely within this country it was definitely number one. Okay. And then a particular, I don't know what they call a person. I don't know if it was Commonwealth. I don't know if it was a mayor or for America. If the city was in America, let's say a particular mayor came in office, and this mayor found out, and you're going to see the parallel. I'm going somewhere, so listeners, give me some. Just listen to my story, but it's going to tie into what Aaron just talked about, or what we were beginning to talk about. And so, this particular mayor, this, and again, I'm using that title because that, but whatever it's called in, provincial leader, prime minister, no, prime minister of the country. I'm not, I should have done a little bit of my research because I don't know what the exact title of this official was, but he was overseer of this. Let's talk about Batman Gotham. Okay. Using that. That's a good way. So Gotham, this happened in Gotham. Okay. So what happened in Gotham is these foreigners came in and they were wreaking havoc. So what happened was this provincial leader said, you know what? We, it's not, we're in a war. We have to use tactics of war. So the one thing that I think needs to happen is we need to realize we've got the war without and the war within. So you handle the war without is but the war within needs to be handled the same way. And this provincial leader used guerrilla tactics. He basically said to his enforcers of the law, you need to break the law in order to, because we got to protect our borders, basically. And it was guerrilla warfare. And that particular country that infiltrated that area, they got the message very quickly, Aaron. They realized they thought they were powerful because they were empowered in their own country. So it was safer for those thugs to go back to the country they originally were from. So I think the same thing has to happen here. And the message has to be loud and clear. Listen, it's not safe for you to be an American, so that it stops. Right? Am I right? Because they were
Mhm.
empowered by the previous administration, realizing it's safer to be in America than it was in their own countries, and now the reverse has to happen. So it's going to be ugly, but it has to get ugly to get pretty.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got the country right, but there's a country that was similar to your story. I think it was Venezuela.
Okay?
Because Venezuela was very big on drugs, very big on gangs, and then one leader stepped in and started rounding up the gangs like big time. Like if you were on the payroll as a cop, you were arrested. He went very hard on gangs, on drugs, and now, like, I think it was only like 3 years. 3 years later, now it's a very safe country. Like, I saw a video the other day, and I could be wrong with the name of the country,
No, you're right with Venice.
but I saw a video and they were talking to people from there, and they're like, "Yeah, it's no problem. Now," this lady goes, "Now I can walk down the streets without worrying if I'm gonna get mugged." And it's very and the president or prime minister or whatever it is was really beaten up and called a dictator because of these decisions. And I'm sorry. I would rather have, 2, 3, or 4 years of somebody going in and stirring things up and it being a little bit of a mess for a while. You stepping out of your house, seeing down the street, seeing, Humvees rolling up and pulling people into vehicles to get to a place where the US as a whole is safe. One of those cities where they're sanctuary cities. I would never move to a sanctuary city. Like, and so yeah, that's that. You have a little more you want to talk about this topic? Because
Yeah,
I
I
want to
want to.
also get
Yeah, I want to stay on this for a little bit. So I want to
okay.
make it. I don't want anybody to connect the dots. Aaron was right in talking about Venezuela, but my hypothetical historical story was not um, Venezuela. But if you were to find out, so my point is that um, I think it was very telling. I'll promote it. Joe Rogan has the most popular podcast in the world right now. His interview with Trump was quite telling because Trump talked about him listening to the wrong people. So Trump is not a perfect man. He's a man. He's not perfect. And but for him to be humble enough to admit that he made mistakes, so he wasn't. He was saying that it was the people, but he did admit that he was listening to the wrong people. So I think now, and again, he may make some mistakes because again, he listens to his gut, but he's listening to the right people. I think now he's surrounding himself. Again, not everybody's going to be perfect in their positions, but I'm happy with the choices he's making, except for one. And I won't talk about that one because I support my president. I'm happy with the overall. I'll take 99% of the choices that he's making. And so the thing is that mistakes will be made, but I use that hypothetical example of that provincial leader saying that's what we have to get to. We have to be willing. Again, I'll use mayor just because I used America. This mayor empowered his enforcers to do whatever it took. That's basically what he said. We're going to fight fire with fire. And you know what? I'm okay with some of our liberties being taken away initially for time. You know what I'm saying? Due process and all that. I don't want to. I don't want to fillet the Constitution. I'm not saying that. But these MFers are here illegal, and they have no protection. Now, if you're a legal citizen and can prove it, that's fine. It may take something to prove that, whatever that is, as long as it's not a digital ID. I don't want to go that route yet, but I think we need to fight fire with fire. Is my point. We really need to clean house. And the proof was in the pudding. That provincial leader took a risk and it worked. It paid off. And it was like you were talking about, it was a comparison. That whole area became safe because they were more afraid of the legal authority than they were of the illegal. And the adverse was happening. for decades, and it was changed virtually over.
Yeah, and they pretty much declared martial law when Venezuela did that. And if it gets too crazy, then that might have to be what has to happen. If they're, in, Southern California or in Florida pulling truckloads of illegal immigrants. I'm completely okay with immigrants.
Legal, legal. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Our whole country was based on legal immigrants. You know what I'm saying? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I got to be careful because there were Native Americans. But, a lot of our country was advanced because of legal immigrants.
Oh yeah. But I if it gets crazy and American citizens stop like trying to stop ICE, then there might have to be a martial law situation where we bring in the National Guard, where we have curfews and in some of these cities that are highly populated with illegal immigrants, that might be what has to happen in those cities. Um, if you're in a sanctuary city, uh, I do recommend uh, possibly moving because it's gonna get crazy. But yeah,
And I think we're ready to move to a less controversial topic.
I
The
don't think
great,
we have a less controversial topic.
oh, you stole my thunder, brother. I was going to talk about the elephant in the room, the land grab that's going on in America right now. You got
Okay.
North Carolina was a land grab. You got California now being a land grab, and Hawaii was. It's a conspiracy theorist utopia right now because they're all sitting back smiling. They're like, "I told you so." I'm like, "Look," So like, I have to chuckle a little because I really, I'm trying to process what's going on in California. There's probably three or four conspiracy theories going on at the same time, but whatever it is, it's a shame what's happening to that landscape. Some people are saying it's China, again, stirring up because that's entertainment industry. It may not necessarily be still the bastion it used to be, but it's symbolically, it definitely is. If that Hollywood sign burns, and I think the fires are getting pretty close to it, it's the symbolism. So you can see where those conspiracy theorists are heading in that direction there. It's oddly suspect, Aaron. It's the wrong time for these fires to be happening in that area. So what say you, Aaron?
Actually, out of all the news that I've been watching, the fires has not really been one of them, so I don't really have too much insight on
Right.
it. But it is the off season. It's not like it's hot summer. You know, it's the time when there's rain in California, and there should be enough moisture in the trees to not catch on fire. And so it's definitely doesn't come across as a natural fire. So I will do research on it, and we will have a deep dive on that coming out in the next couple days. But yeah,
It's got them shaking in their boots. Billy Crystal, he lived in his house with his wife since 1979. Gone. James Woods had to apologize on air because he said, I thought I could be strong enough to do this interview. I can't. He was moved to tears. So we should put people on a pedestal, but again, it's the whole American sentimentalism. Symbolically, if China wanted to do something symbolically, I could see them doing this. It's definitely, again, I just look at it and say, wow, look at what's happening. Over 1,000 structures have been burned to the ground. Places that didn't think they were going to get it are starting. Hollywood Hills, which is where, if you understand the layout, the hills became more advantageous rather than living in Hollywood. You live in the hills, and the hills are burning. Literally, that was the latest. I haven't checked in the last few hours, but I know the Hollywood Hills are on fire. So it's getting really close to Los Angeles proper. And so, yeah, it's quite interesting what's going on for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I
blue,
think. Go
sorry,
ahead.
well, I don't know how many of them had blue roofs.
So there's a lot of things that are happening to distract people, to stretch people thin, and all that is because of one thing: Donald Trump's inauguration. It is a couple days, 10 days from now.
well,
It's the
well,
it's the
well,
9th
let
now.
yeah, it's
11,
close.
11, 11. Okay. When this airs on the 14th, then it would be
6
6
days.
days. And so, I know that there's a lot going on in the Washington, D.C. area right now with the snow, with Jimmy Carter's funeral. There was a few little terrorist threats here and there. I'm pretty sure Washington, D.C. is used to getting those every month. But with all that going on, it's it's kind of a tense moment. So I'm wondering how the inauguration is going to go. It seems like Biden is doing whatever he can, pardon this phrase, but F up Donald Trump's plans. Um there's right off the bat, right after he was president elect, uh Biden went in and did a bunch of stuff in Ukraine. Bunch of stuff that could severely escalate what is we have a deep dive on that too. Um where he approved landmines to the Ukraine. Now, last thing I knew, landmines were considered no touchy, like don't do it with the Geneva Convention and stuff like that. So he did that. Then he forgave the debt. So we dished sent out over a bunch of money that we're not getting back. And then recently, Trump's big thing was drill, baby, drill. And what does President Biden do? He outlaws offshore drilling. Like, like really, your last 2 weeks in, and this is what you're gonna do now? And it's very petty. It's kind of like, kick a person when they're down, and I'm gonna pretty much what he's doing is the equivalent of being a suicide bomber. And that's wrong. Oh, I forgot. Also, he was selling the border wall.
Now, you
He was
realize when you say he, that's a collective, right? You understand,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, I want our listeners to be clear on that because I'm not pointing fingers at the puppet. We have to point fingers at the puppet master. And he gave
Yeah.
the gold medal or presidential award to two puppet masters. Actually, one of them is a fellow puppet, but the puppet master, George Soros himself, got award. So it's a collective he. And yeah, it. I'll never forget Aaron Nickel. My dentist was him and I had really good conversations. I wish I had some of them taped years ago because he'd like double book my appointment time because he enjoyed our conversation so much. So it was like a precursor of what you and I do on a podcast. And he said he had a friend who ran for assemblyman or woman, assembly person in the state of Connecticut. And 2 weeks later, they met before she was excited, she got in. 2 weeks later, she was very depressed. He said, "What's going on?" She goes, "This is worse than high school. It's worse." So, based on that statement, yeah, you got your clicks. It's a shame. People at their core are who they are. And so I personally think one of the greatest things I've ever seen in the last 4 years was Florida, where the election results had to be stated by the person who lost. You couldn't have planned that.
Oh, yeah, I watched that yesterday. I was like, "Oh, really? Wow, this is crazy." And she had to smile. She had to smile, like
But she
and then
didn't
and then
giggle.
and then when they announced the numbers for Trump, massive standing ovation. And I'm like, "Oh, that's a burn."
That had to be
Somebody
such a painful time for her. She probably didn't even think about that like the night she lost. Like, that was way. And I get she probably fired the page who came into her the next day and said, "Oh, by the way," she must have done. She must have listened to every Tony Robbins positive thinking book she could get her hands on in that moment, because that really wasn't a giggling moment. I give her props though. She did. I, that's why I watched it. I was like, she pulled it off. But you know, people, she impressed me. I give her kudos for that moment. It was a good job. Should have been like all Pelosi. Remember Pelosi at the State of the Union when she got nailed first. She did it. Pelosi did not have a shining moment. And Kamala,
uh, yeah, but it's she had to do it. Like, she didn't have a choice. She's the speaker of the House as vice president, and by law, they had to do it then. A lot of the Congress and House weren't there because of the snow day, but by law, it had to go forth. And what I was scratching my head with that is they were explaining at the beginning that states can protest the results if they think that they're wrong, which has happened in the past. Now, Biden, when he got into office, he increased the threshold of the amount of the percentage of uh like people would have to protest to make a difference. Okay? So I think he was thinking that he was going to win and then Trump was going to try to get states to argue the results. And so that kind of backfired because even if people said, "Hey, I don't think that this is right with this state," they couldn't because they needed like something like 20%.
right.
And so that kind of backfired. So I think that's why it went off without a hitch, was because the Democratic Party knew that they didn't have 20% in each state to do a protest. And so they didn't. But dude, it's crazy how those election results, um, like you look at a map of the counties and how they voted, you would see mostly the country in red. You just see these big cities in blue. Cities like Los Angeles, cities like Chicago. And yeah, it's crazy. Like a whole state could go blue just because of the city is blue. And we saw that. But yeah, that's crazy. I just want to let our listeners know we do have our deep dives now. And one of the playlists that we have is Donald Trump's X-Men, where we're going a deep dive into his cabinets, the people in his cabinet. We are unrolling that as we go. Hopefully, I get it done before inauguration, but Check that out. We have, you know, Viv, we have different people like John Ratcliffe. We have Tom Hellman. We have Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. We have deep dives on them where it talks about their life. We have JD Vance, which is one of our most popular ones, where they go deep into their lives and what they're going to do for the American people. So check that out. And
Yeah.
also while we're talking about this stuff, if you like what we're talking about, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, shoot us a comment. We do like to, and actually the past couple days I've been getting a decent amount of comments on our videos, which I'm very happy. I love being snarky with some of the negative ones. Like I don't erase them. I just, turn it around and be a little snarky. I love it. Fun, fun, fun. But check it out. Please hit that subscribe button. Check out our new remastered website. We're going to be doing blog posts for all our videos coming out. And so that's going to be there at standinginthegaps.org. And also we have our merch store still up. Check that out where you can get t-shirts, mugs, coffee. What was it? Bucket hat. Yes, the bucket hat that Richie loves. And also, if you like this and you want to support us, we definitely need your support, and you can go to our GoFundMe campaign and you can give there. Any bit helps. Some of the things that we want to do is remaster our studios, get better microphones, get 4K cameras. We're in need of an editing computer because the one that we have is old and slow. But please consider supporting us, and the link is in the description for that.
Yes, and if any of you listeners have any content or potential guests for our live program, which we do once a month, please forward their information. If you want to be a guest, if you have something really you're passionate about, want to you're standing what we call standing the gap, somebody that is making a difference in their community. Don't think you're so small. Doesn't matter how small or big your sphere of influence is. It's just a matter of if it's something you're passionate about. Our listeners may be passionate. How do they? What's the best way to go about that process if they want to be guests or they know somebody who wants to be a guest, Aaron?
I think the best way is to go on our website. Either go on the website or leave a comment on a video. I think actually leaving a comment on a video would probably be the easiest. Say hi, and then I will comment on that with the link that you can sign up to be a guest. Yeah.
So I think we're about ready to wrap up, right, Aaron?
Well, I wanna actually hit up one more topic.
All right.
Um, I want to talk about the drones real quick, and then we can wrap up, because it seems like a spider web. We have, I think, let's see, 5 videos that are all intertwined around this conspiracy. And it started off with drones showing up over New Jersey. And that scared a lot of people. They didn't know where all these drones were coming from. Even before that, we didn't report on it, but because it was before we started the deep dives. At the beginning of the year, we had the balloon that crossed America, the Chinese balloon that crossed America. And just hearing the stories after that, the president wasn't informed about the balloon till 3 days after.
Why
3
is-
days after.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I don't know.
A full
Somebody
72
dropped the ball.
hours? Wow,
Somebody dropped the ball.
that's crazy.
You know, he should have known in the first hour. You know, that's crazy.
No one told Kamala? No one told Hillary? No one told George? Sorry, I had to go there.
Nice.
I
Nice plug. Nice plug.
No one told Gavin? Naming the clip.
So we have it where we have one video that is New Jersey under siege for you to check out. Then there was one that was above that where people were saying, "Oh, these are UFOs, they're aliens," and talking about psychological warfare, which ties into that. Then we have another one, another drone update talking about the lies behind it. And then I did one about the Cybertruck, talked about the Cybertruck bombing. And lo and behold, the manifesto of the Cybertruck bomber got out, and it talks about these drones and where they're coming from and what technology they have. I heard of in New Jersey, the police have a pretty substantial drone, fast, full of sensors and stuff like that. They flew it up to one of these drones and they couldn't keep up with it. Like I've seen little DIY drones built in the 50s and that can do this. And so it's entitled "They Don't Want You to See This." And so check that out. There's also some Afghanistan cover-ups that were also in there. So those are some pretty good videos to watch. And those are in our deep dives, so you won't necessarily hear our voices. I just want to throw a quick little disclaimer on there. They are AI generated voices. We do that so we can get the news out very fast. As soon as we find out about stuff, we can get an episode out. And so if you don't like AI, I apologize. In the gaps, we're going to use that to get you the information as fast as possible.
Yeah, we're going to have plenty of deep dives coming this next year for sure. So almost can't keep up with it. So want to thank all our faithful listeners for this great 2024, and we're well into 2025. So our prayers go out to the different areas of America being affected by all these tragedies. And although we are an entertainment show, we take these things like actual lives are impacted. Just hope that your prayers get answered for a good 2025. And remember this, boys and girls, the best, capital B, is yet to come.
Hi, guys.